ألف لام را كتاب أنزلناه إليك لتخرج الناس من الظلمات إلى النور بإذن ربهم إلى صراط العزيز الحميد.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا، من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له، وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له، وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلى الله عليه وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. أما بعد. After beginning with the praise of Allah Azza wa Jal and sending salutations upon the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam and upon his family and his companions, the topic for today is an absolutely vital topic, and it's a topic that really needs to be given attention over all other things, after the most basic principles of Islam. And that is because this topic is the beginning for the student of knowledge. And all students of knowledge should begin with this topic. After they've learnt the most basic things of Islam, the most basic fundamentals of Tawheed, the most basic fundamentals of how to pray, and the basic things they need in their life as a Muslim, they need then they wish then to progress, to be a student of knowledge and to study Islam formally. To do so, they must study this topic. And that is the correct methodology to study or in studying Islam. The reality is that this is a topic that I probably learnt the hard way. And perhaps I will leave some of that discussion to my upcoming talk in Green Lane regarding Memories of Medina next week. But I will indicate to you what I mean by this. That for a very long time, I was under the impression that for me to be able to study Islam and for me to be able to excel in studying Islam, I have to go to Medina, or I have to go to Mecca, or I have to go to Riyadh. And it's not possible for me to study Islam here in the UK, or it's not possible for me to learn here in the UK. The reality is that this is just simply not true. And this is from the tricks of the shaitan or for a person. That a person is tricked into thinking that there is no way for them to seek knowledge. In reality, there are. And it's not the same as Medina or Makkah or Riyadh. It's different. And it's not the same opportunity. But there are enough opportunities for you to be able to develop a very good, firm, basic understanding of Islam, that if you were to take that to Medina, you would be a real talibul ilm, a real student of knowledge. And subhanallah, one of the strangest things about this is that you see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made means of communication so easy. And yet, with these means of transport and communication being so easy, you see people doing less, seeking knowledge than they were before. Al-Imam al-Bukhari rahimahullah ta'ala would travel months on end for the sake of one or two hadith. And yet, the overwhelming number of brothers and sisters who live in Birmingham would be unwilling to travel to Dudley in order to learn. This is not something unfair, this is something I've witnessed. They would be unwilling to travel 9 miles in order to learn. Al-Imam al-Bukhari was willing to travel over a huge part of a continent the whole of Arabia into across the whole of Persia for the sake of a hadith. And yet we have brothers and sisters who are unwilling to travel 7, 9, 10 miles in order to learn something beneficial in Islam. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this door easy for you if you want it. Even within your own house, there are so many means. However, what I'm going to tell you about today is that you need to have the methodology right. I think it was Ibn Jama'ah, rahimahullah ta'ala, or one of the other authors who authored on this topic, that mentioned that there are two types of people who fail to study Islam. There are two types of people who fail to study Islam. Or perhaps not fail to study Islam, they fail to achieve their goals in studying Islam. Your goal is what? To benefit yourself and others, to become a person of knowledge, a genuine student of knowledge, to progress through your time as a student of knowledge, to become a person of knowledge in Islam, a person who is of huge benefit to themselves and their actions and other people. There are some people who fail to achieve that. And this author, he said they fail to achieve it for one of two reasons. Either they fail to achieve it because they're not intellectually capable. They just don't have the intellectual ability to be able to reach that level. And he said, these people, we can't do anything about that. They do their best, they try their hardest, and, they don't have the ability to do it. That is something that is from Allah Azza wa Jal. They make dua to Allah, and, they do the best they can, and that's enough. But the majority of people are not these people. These people are a tiny, tiny minority. The overwhelming majority are those people who are more than capable of learning and studying Islam. But they fail to achieve their objective because they don't know how to do it. These are the people that I am talking about today and trying to correct today. As a reminder to myself, because I'm not at the end of my journey, I'm only at the very beginning. But perhaps me wandering around to try and find my path for a very long time, a number of years, perhaps I can save you the time of doing so yourselves and give you a shortcut so that you can progress and move on that path. We want this country to be a country full of the people of knowledge, full of people who in their local areas benefit themselves and others. People who call others to the Sunnah and call others to the way of the Salaf al-Salih. This is what we want. This is what we want from our students of knowledge. But we're failing to achieve it, and we should recognize that. The first step to correcting something is recognizing your failure. We are failing right now to do this. And the reason, in the overwhelming majority of cases, you have very bright people. You have brothers and sisters who are going to university, they have A-levels, they've aced their GCSEs, they've done well. They are good, solid people. They're clever, they're not stupid people. But they just don't know how to learn, or they can't overcome those burdens and those hurdles that have been put in front of them. And so they end up failing because they didn't know how, and not because they were unable to do it. And in reality, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made this knowledge of such a high level of praise, and such a high standard, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has encouraged us to learn, وَقُلْ رَبِّ زِدْنِي عِلْمًا, say, my Lord, increase me in knowledge. Do you think that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would have put so much emphasis on this topic and then made it unable to be achieved by the majority of people? Rather, Allah has made this religion easy. There are not so many masail, so many issues, there are not so many points of aqeedah that you can't understand. The religion is not difficult. But if you don't know how to learn, the problem is you're spending all of your time getting lost in the side streets, and there's a motorway that takes you straight to where you want to be. But you're still driving around the back alleys, back and forward and around and around. And so the objective today, for those who are present and inshallah ta'ala those who will catch up with the video later, is to establish a methodology for learning and studying Islam. And this methodology, it can't come from Muhammad Tim for two reasons. First of all, and most importantly, seeking knowledge is an act of worship. And in an act of worship, we are commanded to follow and not to introduce new things into it. Second of all, Muhammad Tim has not completed his journey. Muhammad Tim is currently on the slip road. He can see the motorway and he's on the slip road and he's getting there towards being able to start, but Muhammad Tim has some way to go. But at least if we look at those who have completed their journey from the Sahaba and from the Tabi'een and from the Imams of Islam and the people who renewed the religion and were sent by Allah Azza wa Jal to renew the people's religion for them, and those people who followed them and the great scholars of Islam of the past and present, we see people who have found that road and are well on their way or have completed their journey. And we find that through research, every single one of them studied the same way. Now, I'm not talking a carbon copy, because the means of study change, the ways of study change, but the basic study, the basic idea didn't change from the first of them to the last of them. And this is the sunnah of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and his companions, and the methodology that the people agreed upon in seeking knowledge. The first thing that you need on this road of seeking knowledge is what we are trying to do today, and what some of the authors of books and other things have tried to do in the past, and that is to know the methodology. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop driving around with our car, we're going to switch the engine off, and we're going to get out a map and actually figure out where we're going. If that's an example that is appropriate, we're looking for this fast road. Instead of just driving around hoping we're going to find it, we're actually going to stop and take a moment to learn how to learn. And inshallah ta'ala, I hope that today will be some means towards that. From the means of doing so is the book, The Etiquettes of Seeking Knowledge, by Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, rahimahullah ta'ala. And this is translated and published and available in the English language from the Islamic bookstores, and likewise online you can get copies of it. And this book is a fundamental book, and it's a book that's enough to start you on the path of how do I learn. And the Salafus Salih, rahimahumullah ta'ala, they would learn how to learn before they would learn the knowledge that they specifically were looking for. And this is well established, that the first thing that they would teach in the halaqat is the adab and the etiquettes and the methodology of learning. Now, I'm not going to talk too much about the etiquettes today, but the idea is that you can pick those up from the book, The Etiquettes of Seeking Knowledge, or other books that have been written on the topic. In Arabic, you have a lot of extra resources. You have the book Tadhkiratus Sami' by Ibn Jama'ah, if I remember correctly, and you have Jami' Bayan Al-Ilm wa Fadlih, Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi, if I remember the names correctly. You have a book by Al-Khatib Al-Baghdadi on the virtue of knowledge and following it and its virtue. and you have a book by Ibn Jama'ah called Tadhkiratul Sami', which also covers a similar thing. And these are just expansions in Arabic upon, or if you like, Sheikh Bakr Abu Zayd, rahimahullah ta'ala, simply summarized the contents of these books and others. And there are others, but these are two of the books that stand out in setting a methodology for the talib al-ilm. The next point that I would like to make, and the next thing that you need to give your most importance to and put ahead of everything else, is the Book of Allah. And this is really, really something I want to hammer home. We have Tullab al-Ilm who graduate from the Islamic University of Medina, and they graduate from Riyadh, and they graduate from Makkah, and they graduate from other places in the world, and they come back, wallahi, they cannot recite Al-Fatiha properly. And none of us, I don't sit here and say that my recitation is perfect, by no means, but at least you need to have an acceptable level. There are people who come back and they have not memorized the Quran. The Quran is the beginning, and it is the source of all of the knowledge that you're going to seek. If you don't have it, you're going to make things very hard for yourself. So you need to look at the Quran. And in terms of learning the Quran, you have two aspects to learning the Quran. If we simplify it, taking aside the science of the Quran, which is a more advanced topic, you have how to read the Quran. From this is the makharij al-huruf and tajweed, how you pronounce the letters, how you read the Quran, and you have the memorization of the Quran. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it was Ibn Jama'ah, rahimahullah ta'ala, who said that with regard to those of us who are older, we can't dedicate our whole time to memorizing the Quran. Why? When you are young, you have no obligations upon you. You're not mukallaf. You have no need for developing your knowledge right then. At that time, you can literally dedicate your child 4 years, learn the Quran. Teach them their salah, their wudu, the most basic things, and that's it. As for the adult, first of all, the memorization of the Quran is going to take you longer than it's going to take a child. That's no doubt about that. It's going to take you generally longer. And that is because we have sin and the children don't have sin. And because our concern and worries about job and family and problems lead our memories to become confused, whereas they have nothing much to worry about other than the memorization of the Quran. So it's going to take you longer. And that means that if you were to dedicate yourself to it, I'm not saying it's bad for everyone, but for most people, if most people were to dedicate themselves to it and learn nothing but the memorization of the Quran, they would become very behind in their knowledge of belief, their knowledge of tafsir, their knowledge of important things. However, I want you to give the Quran priority. So the Quran comes first, before Arabic, before tafsir, before all of these things that you learn. The Quran comes first. Putting the Quran first. How do you memorize the Quran? How does a person memorize the Quran? You need to find yourself a teacher. And this is the reality. You can learn the Quran, and I'll tell you something. I learned Juz Amma by listening to a tape and repeating. And I have so many mistakes until today in Juz Amma that I don't have in any other qira'ah. That I have mistakes in my reading in Al-Fatiha and in Juz Amma that I don't have in any other surah. And even though I've sat with my teacher and read them to my teacher, I still have probably 3 to 4 times more mistakes in those small surahs than I do when I recite Al-Baqarah or Al-Imran or Al-Nisa or Al-Ma'idah or Al-An'am, because these are ones that I learnt and I memorized with a teacher. Now I did what I could. I was a new Muslim, I couldn't read Arabic, and I listened to the tape and repeated. But the reality is that the mistakes are there that don't exist. Mistakes are there in my qira'ah, in Al-Fatiha and in Juz Amma, that don't exist in any other place in the Quran. And it's a real effort for me to get rid of them, and I fall into them and I forget about them, and it's a real effort to get rid of them compared to my recitation of other parts of the Quran. So get yourself a teacher. And this requires climbing down from the ivory tower that you may have built for yourself. I.e., go and find someone and go and ask them. And they say, I'm only available at Fajr. No problem, I'll come at Fajr, because this for me is the most important thing in my life, from my voluntary acts of worship that I'm doing, is to learn my deen and to be able to benefit myself and others, and therefore I will come at Fajr, I will come before Fajr, I will come at an awkward time, I will wait outside your house in the cold, because this is what is important to me. And guess what, guys? You may have to travel. You may have to travel, especially as your Quran gets better. You may find your first teacher is good, mashallah, a good teacher, competent, teaches you well. But your teacher isn't, Ibrahim al-Akhtar or al-Hudayfi or whatever. You get a bit better and you find that your teacher isn't able to correct the more difficult points of tajweed that you're falling into. But there's a brother in Birmingham that can do it. And you say, okay, I'll go once a week. But the reality is you need more. And he's willing to give you 3 times a week. Then you're willing to go if you have to get on those 2 feet and walk until you reach it. Because this is about sabr, and it's about jidd. Man jadda wajad, the one that works hard will find the fruit of the work that they're doing. If you have to walk on your 2 feet because you can't afford the petrol, then start walking until you get there 3 times a week or whatever you need. And you read the Quran. Now, my methodology with regard to the recitation of the Quran is that you should not memorize anything that you have not read to somebody. Because you'll memorize it wrong and then forever you'll be correcting it. And I've suffered from this so much in my Quran, that I memorized it first, then I went to my teacher and he said, la, khata, it's a mistake, it's wrong. Now I have to undo the memorization. Best thing, take the mushaf, grab the guy coming out of the masjid, 2 minutes, akhi, please. Can I read this to you? 1 page. You read your 1 page, 2 minutes, 3 minutes if you read very slowly. He says, yes, that's correct. Right, off you go and you start memorizing. How many pages of the Quran do you memorize? Every single person is different. But all of the Salaf agree that memorization of the Quran has only a limited number of factors you can change. One of those factors is repetition. And the other factor is the length of the content that you memorize. Those are the 2 main factors. There isn't really anything else that you can really do and tweak. You tweak the repetition rate and you tweak the amount that you memorize. And there are some beautiful methodologies. Abdul Muhsin al-Qasim has one from the Masjid al-Nabawi, and a lot of people have them. But they don't go outside of this. If you are not able to memorize right now, that's because you need to repeat more and memorize less. Repeat more and memorize less. That's simple. Eventually, even if you have to repeat it 200 times, you will eventually get to a level where you can actually memorize. Every one of you, even if you're the most forgetful person in this room, you will get to the point where you are able to memorize. Because, like they say, بِالتِّكْرَارِ يُعَلَّمُ الْحِمَارِ. When you repeat things, you can even teach a donkey. Doesn't matter how slow you are, how bad your memorization is, By constant repetition, even if you have to repeat it 300 times, eventually it's going to sink in. The problem is we do this. We start reading Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim. 3 times, 4 times, nah. Start 50 times, 60 times, 70 times until it's ingrained in your brain, like your name. And one of the mistakes people make is we read it too little and we try and do too much because we're racing. The hifth is at the end, you know. I do this. I do this. I'm not telling you something I don't do myself or I haven't done in the past. You take it, you think, right, you know what it is? I've got 1 juz left to finish a quarter of the Quran. And that juz is the one that you have, you know, if you asked me about it today, I probably couldn't read it. Because I rushed through it, knowing that that's my quarter, that's my half of the Quran, that's my 2/3 of the Quran. And I rushed and I rushed and I rushed. In the end, I don't remember it. Because there are 2 types of hifth. Hifdhun sadiq and hifdhun kadhib. True hifth and false hifth. True hifth is the memorization that is ingrained in your mind like your name. It's burnt in there. It's committed to your long-term memory. And it's there and it's alive. And false hifth is the one where you go quickly, you memorize it in 3-4 minutes, you repeat it a few times, and it's there for an hour or 2 hours or 3 hours or until the exam, and then you forget about it. The Quran should be something that is true hifth. You have it like your name. If you haven't done the surah like your name, don't go into the next surah. Should be perfect. Continuing on, another thing you must do is you must link between the things that you memorize. So you must never, ever memorize things that are separate. I.e., if you are memorizing, you're memorizing أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. So the first day you memorize أَلَمْ تَرَ كَيْفَ فَعَلَ رَبُّكَ بِأَصْحَابِ الْفِيلِ. And the second day you memorize أَلَمْ يَجْعَلْ كَيْدَهُمْ فِي تَضْلِيلٍ. That's a mistake. Because you had memorized separate things. You have to link them. So the second day you have to read 3, 4, 5 ayat, the surah before. So what you would do, you would read every day لِإِلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ from the beginning to the end. And then you would read all of the ayat of Surah Al-Fil until your new ayah. And the next day, all of لِإِلَافِ قُرَيْشٍ and all of your Surah Al-Fil and one more ayah. Why? Because I had this problem. I used to memorize a page and the next day memorize another page and the next day memorize another page. And guess what? I can read that page just fine, but I have no idea what page comes next. Because in my mind, the links between the pages are not there. And the links between the ayat are not there. And that's a problem. And that's something I'm now trying to correct in my Quran. And I don't want you to make the same mistake that I made. Don't memorize one page and then another page and then another. Memorize one page, go back a half a page and memorize the half and another half and overlap them. Again, how much you overlap is according to your ability and what you see. What will happen as you get better? Juz Amma might take you a year. And then Juz Tabarak might take you 9 months. And the Juz after that might take you 6 months. And the Juz after that might take you 3 months. And the Juz after that might take you a month. Once you get 5 Juz from the back of the Quran, and I highly recommend that you go from the back, from Surah An-Nas until Surah Qaf. From Surah An-Nas until Surah Qaf. When you get to Surah Qaf, you'll find that there's so much repetition in the ayat of the Quran anyway, that you already have the ability to really just finish the rest. Getting to Surah Qaf is the hard bit. The rest of the Quran is not relatively that hard, because it's a lot to memorize, it's a lot for you, but then you actually it's like a muscle. In the beginning, you go in the gym, you can't understand, these guys are lifting all these great big kilograms of weight, and you're looking, this guy is lifting, and you think, I can't lift that, 2 of us can't lift that, and he's just picking it up. Did he start like that the first day he came to the gym? No. He started on his little one circle, 10 kilogram each side, 5 kilogram each side, until he got better at it. Your hifz is the same, it's like a muscle. When you begin, it's going to take you a long time. You're going to struggle, but then you'll get quicker and quicker until you'll be able to memorize a page a day, or 2 pages a day, or 3 pages a day, or 5 pages a day, and you won't find it difficult. But all the time review, is my hifz genuine? Is it the real deal? Can I really remember everything, and frequently revise what you know? And when you revise the Quran, revise it from memory and revise it from the Mus'haf. And I realized this recently, that I used to revise my Quran frequently from memory. And I used to read my Quran from memory a lot. But then I realized I was missing something. I was making silly mistakes that if I had had the Mus'haf in front of me, I wouldn't have made. And that showed me that you need to dedicate some of your time to revising what you know from the Mus'haf, because it will remove some of the mistakes that you have. And it will help to make your hifz more solid, because it's not the hifz of hearing, but it's the hifz of sight and hearing. From the other things the ulama mention is only memorize from one Mus'haf. Do not iyaka. Do not ever swap masahif. Because you memorize by sight, and you memorize where the words are on the pages. And if the words are on different places in the pages, it will ruin your memory. And you'll see the masahif are not all the same size letters and not all the same. Memorize from one and stick to it. You may choose one that is commonly available in every masjid, like the new print from Malik Fahad, which is available in pretty much every masjid in the country. You have that one, and wherever you go, you'll be able to find it. But if you want a pretty colored one with lots of colors and things, make sure you carry it around with you, because if you change Mus'haf, your memory will go. In the beginning, because you memorize by seeing where the words are, and you remember, oh yeah, I remember that's where it ends on the page, and then the new ayah starts. So you have a visual element as well as an element of hearing, as well as an element of memory. And I think realistically, for a good while, you'll be able to read everything you know every single day. If you only know Juz Amma, you can read Juz Amma every single day. No problem. You can read it twice a day, once from memory and once from the Mus'haf, no problem. Once you know a little bit more, you get to 5 juz, 6 juz, you can't read it every day. Then you have to split it, 3 juz one day, 3 juz the next. Or 2 juz one day, 2 juz the next, and 2 juz the following day. Once you get to a certain amount, you can't possibly hope to be able to read everything you know in one day. When you finish the whole Quran, you can't read the whole Quran in one day. But you need to be reading it frequently, because the Quran is easy to memorize and easy to forget. And this is from the khasa'is of the Quran. From the unique qualities of the Quran is easy to memorize and easy to forget. It goes in easily and it goes out easily. And the way to stop it going out is to use it. Use it in your salah, use it in your dhuhr prayer, in your asr prayer, use it in your sunnah prayers. Get it in your mind that this is the Quran that I'm learning. Now, of course, as you're doing that, you now have your program for the Quran. And now we come on to the next point, which you need to make some time for, which is for those people who don't speak the Arabic language. You need another fundamental that comes now, we're saying, alongside the Quran, but not with the same priority, a little bit less, is Arabic. And I can tell you now that anyone of regular intelligence can learn the Arabic language in 2 years full time. I can promise you that. You can learn to a level of good, firm understanding of Arabic, good conversational Arabic, 2 years full time. No more than that. I mean, we saw brothers came to Medina, and these guys, they didn't know anything. Some of them really, they came right out of the middle of nowhere, and they didn't know anything. And all of them, within 2 years, 2.5 years, they knew Arabic. However, we don't have full time. We're presuming you don't have 2 years of your full time to give. So we need to break it up. But even broken up, I mean, if you look at a degree that is 3 years full-time, how long would it take you to do that degree part-time? 5 years? Basak tells me 5 years. So if we said that you can have 5 years part-time to do the Arabic language, we're being generous. It shouldn't take you more than 5 years to develop near fluency in Arabic, part-time in England. If it is, you're doing something wrong. Again, find yourself a teacher, but don't rely on the teacher. I tell you why. With the Quran, there are lots of teachers available. However, with Arabic, the number becomes a little smaller, and normally there's a cost involved. So what you want to do is ask yourself, what do I need a teacher for? And the same with the Quran. You don't sit in front of your teacher and memorize. You read to your teacher, you memorize at home, and then you read what you've memorized to your teacher, and you read your new page to your teacher. You don't sit in front of your teacher and make him sit for 2 hours while you memorize the ayat. Likewise, vocabulary you can learn in Arabic. Give yourself 20 words a day, 10 words a day, 5 words a day, 2 words a day. Stick them on your mirror, stick them on your house, stick them on the outside of your door, stick them on your steering wheel, whatever it takes, but learn yourself a fixed number a day and increase. Start with 2 words, 3 words. Vocabulary, desk, door, chair, table, carpet. Get something like Al-Arabiyya Bayna Yadayk, a simple book of Arabic, or one of these online vocabulary lists, or Google Translate, whatever it takes, but get yourself a basic list of vocabulary that you need. The advantage to taking your vocabulary from the Medina books, and they're in little boxes at the end of each level, is that this vocabulary is Quranic and Hadith vocabulary. Every single word is used in the Quran or in the Hadith in general. So it will be of great benefit to you in that regard. Al-Arabiyya Bayna Yadayk is better for conversational Arabic and for sort of picking up on, words for things. We were a bit slow on that in Medina. We would learn lots of Quranic words, but we wouldn't be able to ask for, like a bottle of water or something like that, because we didn't learn words for, general things like that. And that was at the beginning. Get yourself a vocabulary list. Build up your vocabulary. Make sure that your Arabic reading, and this will benefit you in the Quran, and I hate to say this, and I'm sorry if I cause any offense to anyone, inshallah I won't, but get that mushaf that is written in the Urdu style and put it on the shelf, inshallah ta'ala, and pick yourself a copy of the mushaf that is written in the regular Arabic style. Why? Not because I have anything against the other mushaf, mashallah, it's beautiful writing. I find it struggle to read, but that it won't help you at all in reading regular Arabic. However, if you can read from the King Fahd mushaf, you can read a newspaper, you can read an article, you can read an Islamic book, because they all use the same kind of font system and the same type of style of writing. Whereas if you read from the Persian style, you will struggle to read regular Arabic in other forms. Okay, so my advice is drop the Urdu style one, the one that is written in the Persian style or the Urdu style calligraphy, and get yourself a copy of the one that is in Arabic, so that or the one that is in the ordinary Arabic style, the regular Arabic writing style, so that it becomes easier for you to read Arabic words. Because we do find people who can't, because they're used to reading the other style, they can't read regular Arabic words. If you can read regular Arabic words, you can keep your other mushaf and read from whatever you like. But if you struggle to read regular Arabic words, adopt yourself the mushaf that is written in the normal Arabic style that is used in Arabic print and in Arabic books, and that will help your Arabic to become more fluent. When you get your teacher, you don't need your teacher really to help you with vocabulary. You need your teacher to help you with grammar rules and sentence making. You may not even need your teacher to help you with conversation, because there's lots of Arabic speaking brothers who you can converse with and make simple sentences with and say, please can I have this and please can I have that. There's plenty of brothers who can help you with that. The problem will be you need someone to teach you grammar, and you need someone to teach you making sentences, putting those words together. But even if you have the best teacher, he's not going to help you or she's not going to help you with vocabulary. That's your job. So now you have your teacher, and there are some really good programs online. There are some excellent online Arabic learning programs. I can't remember that I know the name off the top of my head, but there are some really good online Arabic programs where you can find an online teacher, you pay, but they'll go through there, the grammar with you and sentence making with you and conversation with you, even online. But you can find people, you've got to make that effort. Now, what you have is you have the introduction to the topic. You know how to study. You've got your Quran and Arabic going. They're moving forward. You're aiming within 5 years that ideally you should be finishing both the Quran completely in hifz, and you should also be finishing the Arabic language at a good conversational level within 5 years. And some of you, that is too long. Some of you who are particularly good at these things, you should be thinking 3 years, 2 years. But let's say for the norm, I think 5 years is more than enough to finish the Quran and to develop your Arabic language. And even if you don't achieve it in 5 years, you'll be nearly there. You'll have done half of the Quran or 2/3 of the Quran. You'll get there in 7 or 10 or 15 years, no problem. But if you are in the same situation where you haven't learned another ayah or another hadith, now where are you going? You're stuck in the mud. You're not getting any further. So we want you to set the aim that approximately, I'm going to give myself 5 years, part-time, not full-time. I got a job, I got family commitments, part-time. I'm going to set myself this time, and give yourself about the same time you would give yourself to a part-time uni course. I mean, at the end of the day, if you're going to go and do something at uni part-time, and you do, sort of a couple of days a week or whatever, or you do 3 evenings a week or something like that, at least give yourself the same for your Quran and for your Arabic. And people say, I have no time. There are certain times everyone has. Unless you work really weird shifts, after Fajr, almost everybody has time after Fajr. There's almost nobody that doesn't have time after Fajr. So you have after Fajr. You have to be clever. Maybe you're going to listen to your vocabulary as you're driving to work. Someone's going to come up and people ask questions and say, well, I have this job and it's really difficult. And I know, but you have to make it work. You have to be willing to push things aside and give things up for the sake of your deen. If you want to be a talib al-ilm, you have to be willing to give up some things. And that means you have to give up all of the, this, I do this and I do that and I do that. You're going to have to give some stuff up for the sake of learning your deen. And give some of your time up and make some sacrifices. But you can find intelligent ways to combine between things. Like the one who has a vocabulary list that they keep with them all the time at work, stick it on the monitor. Off I go, I'm answering every now and again. I look, do I know the word? No. Do I know the word? Yes. Before long, you'll be memorizing 30, 40 words a day. And how long, an average language has something like 2,000 to 2,500 words you need for fluency. Do the math. If you're doing 25 words a day and you need 2,500 words in order to achieve fluency, how many days, how many months are you, and how many, subhanAllah, within a year, 2 years, and you've got far more than what you need for fluency. If you're doing 10 words a day, you're talking about 10 words a day. What you're talking about, 250 days, you've done all the words you need for fluency on 10 words a day. 5 words a day. Give yourself 500 days. 2,500 words are the most important words you need for fluency. That's it. After that, everything else is building up. And Arabic is more than other languages. But even if you had 2,500 words you knew in Arabic over 250 days, you're doing fantastic. And then you've got a weekly lesson in grammar, a weekly lesson in sentence making. And all you're doing is putting all the words you know into the sentences and practicing. Once a week would be fine. Twice a week would be fine, according to what you can afford or according to the availability of your teacher. The Quran you're reading, memorizing, revising every day. You go into your teacher and you're reading 2 pages of the Mus'haf to your teacher in a week. and those 2 pages you're memorizing over the week, day by day by day. You're reading them to him at the end of the week, and off you go. 2 pages a week. The Quran is 600 pages. Okay, so 2 pages a week, that's going to take you 300. That's going to take you somewhere around 300 weeks. But the reality is you're not going to do 2 pages a week. You're going to begin with maybe 2 pages a week or a page a week, and before long, you'll be on 2 pages a day. And so realistically, like I said, 5 years is a decent length. And some people can do it quicker. So you have your Quran and your Arabic going. And now we come to the issue of the main sort of stay of the topic, the main topic today, of the other forms of knowledge in Islam and how you go about learning them. Because Arabic for me and Quran I put those 2 separate. Because really, you should have had them already. This is something that as children we should have had. As small children we should have had. We didn't, but as small children we should have had. So these are things that you're going to give priority to, and they're not part of your regular study program. They're separate. They're just, I'm going to do it until I know the Quran, and then I'm going to do my Arabic until I know Arabic, and then don't worry about going abroad. After you've done your 2-3 years of your words and you know 20,000 Arabic words and you know lots of grammar, you can go abroad, 3 months you'll be fluent. Whereas you might go to abroad now, and because you're still learning your vocabulary and you're still learning your grammar, you'll struggle. Whereas somebody, if you see the brothers from Pakistan, from India, who go to the madaris and they learn Arabic there, they have some problem in speaking. Their speaking is a little broken sometimes, but they come to Saudi within 2-3 months, they've corrected their problem in their speaking because they already knew their Arabic. Of course, they didn't have any Arabic, native Arabic speakers, but they learned their Arabic, they learned their words, and they went there, and in a few months they picked up their fluency, no problem, because they already had the foundation. And people say, well, I can't do this, I can't do that. We say to you, stop making excuses and start working. So we said, I'm going to set you down some key principles for learning the other elements of Islam. The first is that in Islam, there is a way to learn just like there is a way to pray, a way to fast, and a way to perform the Hajj. And we mentioned this already. Number 2, we need to start at the beginning and move slowly. Okay? Start at the beginning and move slowly. Do not do one of 2 things. Do not go faster than you can learn, because you want to be on Fatawa Ibn Taymiyyah and you want to read Dar Ta'arud al-Aql wal-Naql and you want to read the Mutawwilat of Ahlul Ilm, you want to read the long books and you want to have, these big books in your library. Don't worry about that. The size of a person's library, for the scholar it matters, but for you guys, it matters that, and for us, it matters that we have the good, firm grasp of a handful of books. Start at the very beginning and move slowly and consistently. Number 3, we need to cover each sub-science of Islam in a basic way. Any subject in the world you can divide into modules. We want to divide Islam into modules. For example, tafsir is a module. Aqeedah is a module. Grammar of Arabic, once you get to the level of fluency and you do proper Arabic grammar, is a module. Arabic morphology, which is another area of the Arabic language, is a module. Fiqh is a module. Hadith is a module. The science of hadith is a module. So you're dividing up all of the topics of Islam into subtopics or modules. We mustn't jump between different topics. This is number 4. We mustn't jump between different topics or between different levels until we're ready. Brand new translation just came out from Dar as-Sunnah. Beautiful book of Tawheed. But you know that it's not quite at your level. You know you haven't finished Thalathatul Usul. And you haven't finished Kitab al-Tawheed, but you really want to go and read the Aqeedah of this, these Aqeedah books that have just been published and it's brand new and the book looks nice and everything. Don't be tempted to jump until you've covered the basics. Otherwise, what we do, we jump. We listen to Tim talk about this, and Abu Sama talk about this, and Aqeedah talks about this, and Ahsan talks about this, and Brother Naveed talks about this, and Brother Muhammad Ali talks about this, and we just, we pick up, from the brothers, we pick up pieces, little bits here and there, which is great. Don't stop doing that. But don't think that that will get you any knowledge, any firm knowledge in Islam. What is going to get you firm knowledge in Islam is progression, going slowly, going regularly, from area to area, from topic to topic, with clear progression. Imagine you're studying medicine. Imagine that you are studying medicine. And imagine that in your aim to become the world's greatest surgeon, you decide that you're going to read the books from year 5 before you read the books from year 1. And in fact, you're not even going to read the books from year 5, you're going to open random pages of the book, read one paragraph. I don't think you'd make a great doctor. Likewise in Islam, you need to go with progression, you need to go piece by piece, and you need, when you study, number 5, you need to combine between memorization and understanding. Because the one who memorizes and doesn't understand is like a donkey who carries books, and the one who understands but doesn't memorize has no weight in their argument. You need to memorize and to understand. Now there's no doubt that some people, we used to sit with the Pakistani students in Medina, mashallah, tabarakallah, these guys used to memorize the book. And when I say the book, the page numbers, where the marks were, where the full stops were, the commas were, they just memorized like, they didn't stop. These guys were just like robots. SubhanAllah, these were like guys were like the scanners you buy from Xerox. It was just like I've memorized the book. And I'd say, mashallah, you memorized the book, that's great. And he'd say, no, you don't understand. I memorized the book. To the point where they memorize everything. But we can't do that right now. We need to develop our memory to get there. So at the beginning, we need to just look at the most important parts. One of the best ways of doing this is each chapter of the book, summarize the chapter. Kitab al-Tawheed. Summarize the chapter in bullet points at the beginning on the page where it says chapter 1 or whatever, the blank page that's before it or whatever, or insert a piece of paper where you summarize the chapter and memorize only the summary. Not all of the and this and the repetition, just the summary. This. Takes you to Jannah, prevents you from the hellfire, makes even if you've got sins, etc. You basic things. And memorize one proof for everything you say. So for example, one proof from every chapter in Kitab al-Tawheed. You don't have to memorize 2 or 3 for the beginning, just memorize one proof. At least you'll be able to say the virtue of Tawheed, الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَلَمْ يَلْبِسُوا إِيمَانَهُمْ بِظُلْمٍ أُولَٰئِكَ لَهُمُ الْأَمْنُ وَهُمْ مُهْتَدُونَ. I memorized one ayah, and there are other things, but that will do me for one ayah. Now, at least that's a beginning. And later on, you can go back and memorize more. And there's no doubt there are books that you should try to memorize the majority of the book, like Kitab al-Tawheed. And there are books where you just really need to memorize the main points, like the long explanations. You just need to memorize the bullet points. And we need to begin with what the Messenger ﷺ began with, namely correcting our belief before everything else. So the first topic on our list is Aqeedah. So we said methods of learning already came, you did that. Now you have Aqeedah. And you have many, many other subtopics. What do you want to have in each topic? You want to have a study plan, like a syllabus, to follow in each topic. So now we have Aqeedah. Let me just give you a very rough idea in Aqeedah, what you want to do. Let's give you an idea in blocks first and then in books. In blocks, you want to begin with uluhiyyah, the worship of Allah. Then you want to do asma wa sifat. Then you want to do the short books of Aqeedah that are more advanced. So the more advanced books, but they're still short. They're more advanced than the books, the basic books of the asma wa sifat, but they are they're more advanced, but they're still within one volume. So what about books themselves? In the first category, the books of Sheikh Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab, like Thalathatul Usul, first of all. At least know what the Usul of Thalatha are. If someone asks you, what are the 3 fundamental principles? Yeah, I studied the book, I attended this brother's dars, it was amazing. What are they? One of the shuyukh asked this in the masjid in Newcastle. We'd all attended different Usul of Thalatha, durus and things like that, and he said, who can tell me what the 3 principles actually are? And who can tell me what the 3 principles actually are? And the room went silent. And you need to at least have that much, like that you know what the 3 principles are and the dalil for each one. And you know the basics, the most important things. Thalathatul Usul. This is in Uluhiyya. Then you move to Kitab al-Tawheed. Kitab al-Tawheed, you're going to do several times. Not one time. The first time, you're going to go through it in bullet points. Just, briefly read the chapter, briefly understand what the chapter is about. Next, brief, next, brief, next. Briefly finish the book in a way you understand the text, the words, what they mean, and you have a good idea about what it was said. Then you're going to go back again, and you're going to study the book in a bit more detail. But don't some of the authors and some of the teachers go off on a real tangent. I mean, they start going into every word they stop at. Try not to do that. In the middle one, you want to go through something medium, like Fath al-Majid, something a bit medium level. It's more than bullet points, but it's not too much more. Then the third time, you go through it in all the detail. Go on, hit me with it, give me the full thing. Give me everything that you have. Give me all of the, the narrations, something like we have in Arabic, Taysir al-Aziz al-Hamid, a couple of volumes thick. Give us a real good explanation. And then, you have some other books you might be able to find, but let's just say you finish the books of Muhammad bin Abdul Wahhab that are translated into English, and that will finish a good block of your uluhiyya. Now you move on to block number 2, or year number 2 if you like it. Don't think of it as years, but as, like academic years. You're on to academic year number 2, which is Asma wa Sifat. You're going to start with what? A basic book about what the names of Allah actually mean. Like As-Sa'di's the names of Allah by Imam As-Sa'di, rahimahullah, with regard to what the names of Allah actually are and what they mean. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen has some and others. You get a good understanding of that. Then what are you going to do? Then you're going to move on to a basic book of principles regarding the names and attributes. Something simple. Again, then you're going to move up and do something regarding something a bit more complicated, like Al-Aqeedah, Al-Wasitiyah by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah. And then you're going to move up again and do something perhaps a little bit more. And again, Al-Wasitiyah, you might do it a few times, once a bit more simple and once a bit more complicated. Now you've finished your little block of Asma wa Sifat. Now you move on to the advanced books of Aqeedah. They have a bit more to them, a bit more issues in them, but they are still only in one volume, like Al-Tahawiyah, Al-Aqeedah Tahawiyah, like At-Tadmuriyah, if it's been translated by Shaykh al-Islam, I think it has, by Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah, and any of the other books you find that are one volume, the ones by Dar al-Sunnah, the Aqeedah, or Sharh al-Sunnah by al-Barbahari, these, sort of books that are just going to tidy up your knowledge. You've read all the short ones you can now, and now you're ready to move up. But when you move up now in Aqeedah, you have to move into Arabic because there are no longer translations. I mean, the next thing is Fatawa Ibn Taymiyyah, which is more than you can do in English. So, you've got basically a structure. You've been through the books Uluhiyya, Asma wa Sifat, and then the more advanced topics, and you've been through a good chunk of them, and then you can go and pick up any book and just, fill it in. Maybe there's a book on Uluhiyya you haven't read, you can read it, but you've got that progression. You want to do the same again in every subject. And I don't have time today to be able to tell you every single subject, but the same in fiqh, the same in usul, the same in ilm al-hadith, the same in every area, the same in tafsir. The first time you read a tafsir, all I want you to read is the translation of the Quran by Muhsin Khan. Because this is like a tafsir. And I know it's hard to read because it has a lot of paragraphs and brackets and things like that. But for a tafsir, it's fine. Then move up to something simple like Tafsir al-Sa'di, something simple and short, a very short tafsir, move on to a slightly longer one. Don't go to Ibn Kathir until you've read 3 or 4 other books of tafsir before Ibn Kathir. Because Ibn Kathir is tough. Ibn Kathir has a lot of opinions in and a lot of ikhtilaf in and a lot of, before you go up to Ibn Kathir, get yourself firmly grounded on something like just the translation by Muhsin Khan. Then go up to something like a Sa'di, and Sa'di isn't available in English, but there are some alternatives. Simple book of tafsir that is nice and short, and it's nice for you to understand, and it gives you the correct opinion without too much ikhtilaf, and gradually add ikhtilaf. Ikhtilaf exists, ya ikhwan. But if you allow ikhtilaf to enter in too early, you will become confused. And that's why you see the brother that goes to Kulliyat Sharia and then off comes the beard and things like that. These are usually because of brothers who were not ready for ikhtilaf. In the beginning, you don't. In the beginning, you just get told the right answer, then the right answer plus the dalil. So you begin with just the right answer. When you're a child, someone just tells you this is how you pray. They don't say this is how you pray and this is the dalil. They just tell you this is how you pray. So step 1 is just the right answer from someone reliable. Step 2 is the right answer and the dalil. Like Al-Mulakhas Al-Fiqhi, Shaykh Fawzan, the summary of Islamic jurisprudence by Shaykh Fawzan. It's not one particular madhab, it's not one particular set of opinions, but it's just basically this is what you should do and this is the dalil. This is what you should do and this is the dalil. That's how you start in the beginning. If you start reading books of shubuhat and books of ikhtilaf and books of, even something like Ibn Kathir. First time I read Ibn Kathir, I thought I will never understand tafsir again. Because there's too much khilaf in it, there's too much this, some people said it means this and some people said it means this, and you can't handle it. In the beginning, you need just to know this is what it is. And then you maybe get a bit of an expansion, and then you can handle people saying there are 10 different opinions about this ayah, because you know what you originally have as a position, and you'll change your position over time. The other thing that I wanted to talk about, because I don't have time to go through all the sub-sciences of Islam right now, I'm hoping to put them on the website, inshaAllah ta'ala. I gave you, an idea in Aqeedah, but even in Aqeedah I gave you from memory. And otherwise there may be much better books, that you can look in the bookstore and see, or this book is available. I'm not an expert in what is available in English. One thing I wanted to talk to you about is how or what mix of formats you use to learn. Okay, the mix of methods you use to learn. What methods do we have available? You have 4 or 5 methods available. One is to learn one-on-one with a teacher. And I'm going to give you them in order of preference. Okay, in order of preference. One is to learn one-on-one with a teacher. That's amazing. The next level down is to learn with a teacher in a group of people. Like we did with Kashf al-Shubahat this morning. It wasn't one-on-one, but there was a group of people and there was a teacher. The third, in my opinion, is to get a video of the class. The fourth is to get an audio tape of the class. And the fifth is to get a book. Now, the original principle in Islam is that you learn from your teacher. You don't learn from a book. There is a very famous statement that is widely accepted. Man kana shaykhuhu, or man kana shaykhuhu kitabah, kana khata'uhu akthara min sawabih. Whoever's shaykh is his book, he'll make more mistakes than he gets right. So how do we avoid these things? First of all, you have at least the least you should have is a mentor. Aside from all of these things, you have yourself a mentor. What does the mentor do? Just give you some guidance. Akhi, I finished this book. Akhi, I attended this dars. Akhi, I did this. What do you think I should do now? Maybe you contact him once a month. Maybe you contact him every couple of weeks. You have a mentor who will guide you through what you're doing and give you nasiha and make sure that you stop going off track. Keep an eye on you. You have a mentor. And then you look at what you have access to. So your first thing is, do I have access to somebody who can teach me this book one-to-one? Or if not one-to-one, then an extremely small group, like 2-to-1. Wallah, you'll be surprised. In Birmingham, in Dudley, in the West Midlands, you'll be shocked how many people there are. Even in this masjid, there will be people of knowledge in certain areas, in certain books, that you can get them and say, look, I just want to read the book to you and listen, to the explanation, etc. There are people, but you have to ask. And you have to be willing to be rejected. Someone saying, no, I'm not going to do it. No problem. Okay, I'm going to stop learning Islam now. No, I'm going to go to the next guy and ask him. Or I'm going to bug this guy and go to him again. Within the adab of Islam, I'm not going to, bug him to the extent, but, I'm going to do my best to show him my commitment. Or I'll move on to something else. Now, ideally, you want to do things in order. There may be times when you have to break your order. For example, some of you today, we did Kashf al-Shubahat, may not have done Kitab al-Tawheed. And I said Kitab al-Tawheed should come first. However, because it was being taught today, attend, but in your mind you have a study plan. You have a study plan, right? You have a plan, a progression. Now, you filled in box number 3, but box number 2 is blank. So all you do is in your mind, you just put Kashf al-Shubahat sort of ahead and remind yourself that I need to do Kitab al-Tawheed, and then revise Kashf al-Shubahat, my notes, and I'll be okay then. So we said these things. You can get a sheikh directly, that's great. If you can attend a class, that's amazing. If you can attend a class, that's amazing. If you can't attend a class, the videos are good because you get to read the etiquette and the manners of the sheikh more than the audio. You get to actually, see it being taught and see the students. But make sure you listen to the questions. And when it comes to video, audio, or books, it's extremely important with those last 3, video. We'll pray Isha insha'Allah ta'ala when we finish the talk. So we don't break the talk and do 5 minutes. We'll pray Isha insha'Allah when the talk finishes in 5 minutes or time or whenever you guys pray bi'idhnillah ta'ala. So, you have the last 3. The last 3 is a danger because you don't have direct access to the teacher. Okay? What do you need to do? First of all, obviously when you hear the teacher or you listen, make notes, and anything you hear that goes against the basic principles you have learnt in Islam, what do? Make a note of it. Don't write a refutation of your teacher and put it online, please. But make a note of it and address the teacher. Speak to the teacher. If the teacher's passed away, like one of the shuyukh asked one of the students that we heard Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen say this, and this seems not to sit with me. It's different to what I've heard previously. It doesn't seem right. I've made a note, and now in my mind I have it there. I will ask somebody about it. So you have, yes, you listen to the durus, especially with the books, because it's very easy to misunderstand someone. Very, very, very easy to misunderstand somebody in a book that they've written, or to make a mistake in a book that they've written. And so what happens to you? You follow the mistake, you start to go off the plot. Whoever's sheikh is his book, he has more mistakes than he gets right. So you have your book, you make your notes, what you don't understand or what you struggled with or what doesn't sound right to you, make a note of and speak to your teacher about it. Ask your teacher and ask your mentor, I listened to this tape, the guy said this, it doesn't sound right to me, what shall I do? And that will get rid of most of the problems. Also, the next point, if you have studied a book, don't suffice with studying a book. So let's say you've read Kashf al-Shubahat at home. You heard today there's a lesson on Kashf al-Shubahat. Attend the lesson because it's of a higher standard than reading at home. Going to a lesson is of a higher level than reading at home. As we said, they were in order. So once you've read, tick it off that I've read the book and go on, carry on. But bear in mind, if you get a chance to attend a class on it, go attend a class on it, especially if it's delivered by one of the scholars of Islam, like the shuyukh who come from elsewhere, from outside, and they deliver the talks, or one of the senior tullab al-ilm who are more senior than the likes of me, who have more knowledge, and they get to, you know, someone they're doing kashf shubahat again, go again and attend it. You'll benefit more from it because you have the opportunity to just renew that knowledge and revise it. And then the last thing to do is to make sure that you revise what you know and that you go over your notes. You make good notes, good quality notes, even share them with people if that helps you to, you know, make good quality notes and then share them. Make sure that you learn the points, you have them in recall, in memory, so that you can say to somebody that this, and this. And what I tend to do, or what I have done in the past, is take a post-it note and stick it on top of the book cover. And just write the main points that you learn from the book, or the main questions you should be able to answer. Thalathatul usul, what are the three fundamental principles? What is the dalil? You know, some just basic things. Why does this help you? It helps you in your revision. You pull the book, you look at the post-it note, or the inside of the cover of the book. This is what is in this book, or this is what I should know from this book. Do I know it right now? Can I answer that question without referring to the book? Yes, no, I need to revise it a bit more. And this is how you continue in each of the sub-sciences of Islam. And ya ikhwani, it's hard. It's not easy. You're going to get difficulties, you're going to get struggles, you're going to get problems, you're going to get times when you can't find the right book or the right teacher, or you can't afford it, or you can't. Keep going, keep progressing. Before long, you will have finished your Arabic, you will have finished your Quran, you will have finished the major books that we teach day in, day out, the books of Aqeedah, the books of Asma wa Sifat, the books of, you know, the core books that we teach all the time. You will be an amazing talib al-ilm that is able, inshaAllah, to make a huge benefit to your community. In the khutbahs, in the durus, we want local brothers from Dudley sat here. I'll be honest with you. I want a local brother from Dudley sat here, where I'm sitting, delivering a dars on kashf al-shubahat or kitab al-tawheed. That's what we want to get. Because if we have that in every place, then what we will do is, inshallah, hopefully I'm supposed to be trying to, you know, do the same as you guys are doing to improve myself. And then inshallah, you know, we'll, you know, kind of be your farat, you know, the one that goes ahead and gets the water. You know, a little bit ahead, watching what's going on behind and encouraging the people to come. And we have plenty of tullab al-ilm in this country who are ahead of us. And they're doing the same for us. They're ahead of us. They're telling us the path, teaching us the way, showing us the road, and off we go all together. The idea is that every little area has 3, 4, 5, 10 serious tullab al-ilm who are people who are benefiting. And then when we bring the shuyukh, you'll see the difference. Because the sheikh is not going to be sort of just giving you a random talk on something. The big sheikh who comes from abroad or whatever, he's going to be giving you stuff that you don't know already on those topics, advanced issues, which is going to get more benefit from him, and you'll develop your knowledge even more. You keep going like this. However, my last point, and I'm aware that we need to stop, inshaAllah ta'ala. A very, very good point the brother reminded me of, and I wanted to speak about this at the end. And that is, while you are a student of knowledge, the greatest advice that I can give you, and write it in capital letters, is know your level. And in another word, you can say know your limits. Recognize you don't have the full picture. And in the olden days, they used to say, there are two people are the most dangerous people in the world. Nisfu alim and nisfu tabib. Half a doctor and half a scholar. Half a doctor, he knows just enough to kill you. But alhamdulillah, the worst he can do is kill you. The alim, however, can ruin your akhirah. The alim doesn't kill you. Wallah, if the alim killed you, alhamdulillah, that's something. But the alim ruins your akhirah. Completely ruins your akhirah and your dunya, and can end up with you in the hellfire forever. So be very cautious of being half a student, half a scholar. Yes? Realize you have limits, as I realize I have limits. There are questions I can answer and issues I can deal with. There are books I can teach and there are books that I can't. I know I have limits, and I recognize when I come across a mas'ala or an issue, I may not have the full picture. Like those people, you're reading the Quran, and we said today you read, whoever kills a believer deliberately, his recompense is hellfire, living in there forever. Before you start going out and making takfir of everyone and anyone who does a major sin and end up following the way of the Khawarij, before you do this, ya ikhwani, realize you have limits, and you have limits, and you have a level. Understand your level and understand your limits. You're going to read things you don't fully understand. So before you go and announce them on Facebook and YouTube and make a refutation and a video, keep your link with the senior people, your mentor, the people more senior than him, the shuyukh and the scholars, and ask them and speak with them. Say to them, I've come across this issue and it seems to me that makes this person a kafir. Is that true? These are major, especially the issues of major issues of the ummah. Like what's going on in Syria and what's going on in Palestine. Never, ever, ever speak about these until you have spoken to the people of knowledge from the major ulama, not the little baby ulama, and not the tawaylibul ilm, like Muhammad Tim, and not the little baby ulama like those ulama who are good ulama from abroad and etc., but they're not at the senior level. The likes of, we want the senior scholars, the likes of our Shaykh Al-Allama Abdul Muhsin bin Hamad Al-Badr, Hafidhahullah Ta'ala, the likes of our Shaykh Fawzan, the likes of the people who their speech carries weight in the whole world. These are the people you ask about Syria and about Yemen and about whatever. Not going, let's ask this person and that person. So this is very important, because you will end up speaking without knowledge, and you'll end up going down a path that the Shaykh could clarify for you in 10 seconds that it's wrong. And say it's wrong because you misunderstood this ayah and the correct understanding is this. That's what we want you to do, is to refer to the ulama, keep your links with them. And it's stages. You know, you have your link with a general student like me. You may have a link with someone more knowledgeable than me from the general students in England, and someone more knowledgeable than him. And then you may have a link with one of the scholars abroad who has maybe a bit more time. And then occasionally you have a link with the senior scholars who you need for matters of severe importance, and, you know, according to what you can do. So this is just really an introduction to your study, and I hope inshallah that this will inspire both the people who are here and the people who watch this later on, bi'idhnillahi tabaraka wa ta'ala, to study. And I hope that it will hopefully inspire myself as well to further my own study, because nobody should be content with where they are. And indeed we want to progress and we want to get further and become more knowledgeable, and the path is long, but the path ends in Jannah, because the Prophet ﷺ said, whoever sets out on a path seeking therein to seek the knowledge of the Sharia, the knowledge of Islam, Allah makes his path to Jannah easy. Or kama qala sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So inshallah ta'ala, we will break now, we'll finish bi'idhnillahi ta'ala. And we'll finish for the salah, and I'm probably going to make my way because we have a bit of a long journey ahead of us. So inshallah you'll forgive me for that. Jazakumullahu khairan wa barakallahu feekum. Subhanakallahumma bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant. Astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.